Greetings BookTube, it's Meredith from queenmerebooks and I'm coming at you with another video, and I'd like to talk about my favorite childhood books. So if you were anything like me, when you were a kid, you probably liked to read a lot. And you probably had a couple books or book series that really got you started and got you into reading. And I'd like to talk about those today a little bit. I read some pretty darn good books in my elementary school years. Let's get started with some of my favorite childhood books. Alright, so first things first, when I was in first grade, I got started on this series of books, and my first grade teacher, Miss Blaylock, introduced the book. I read one book in the middle of the series, probably shouldn't have done that, and I absolutely fell in love with the series, fell in love with the characters, and I could not stop reading these books. I even own several of them, and this series is the Magic Treehouse series by Mary Pope Osborne. These covers are beautiful. I mean, this one's shiny. This one has the Eiffel Tower on it. I mean, where's some other good ones? This is like a Winter Warlock with an eye patch. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, these books were absolutely incredible. These books taught me how reading can take you to new worlds and take you on adventures that you could never possibly have in real life. And I am forever grateful to the author of these books for giving me the chance to have adventures and to explore without ever having to leave my desk in my first grade classroom. There was another series of books that I really got into. My mom bought me a few of these books, and I kind of let them sit on my shelf for a while, probably because I was reading Magic Treehouse, but I really got started on the Dear America series, and I think these books were written by a variety of authors. They were based on true stories. This was the first one of the Dear America series that I read because I thought the girl on it was pretty, so I was like, I'll read the book about the pretty girl. So after reading this book and absolutely loving it, I ran across the Royal Diaries series, which is an offset of the Dear America series. They have like the same design and everything, so I mean, I'm pretty sure this is by the same company, and I think that's why I discovered them. I ended up loving these books even more. These books always followed a future queen or a princess or a ruler of some country and her journey to the throne. And this one was my favorite. This one was about Catherine the Great of Russia. Honestly, these books about queens who started out as my age were the ones that made me realize that forget princess, I wanted to be a queen, and that's kind of why, even today, my YouTube channel is queenmerebooks. So the first really long book I read, a family friend gave to me in an American Girl kit. I got the one about Kaya, or Kaya, I think it's Kaya. I was probably in about first or second grade when I read this. This book was 394 pages, and it took me an entire summer when I was a little kid to read this book, and let me tell you, this got me started on reading big books. As soon as I read this book, I no longer feared the long pages. This was my fear test, like in Divergent. I had no fear. This book turned me into a warrior. Okay, that was a little intense, I'm sorry. But it's true, that book seriously changed all of my reading habits, and I was no longer afraid to pick up the big chapter books in the library after that, even as such a little kid, because I knew I could do it, and it was really a milestone in my reading career. Do any of you remember the scholastic book fairs that some schools would bring to their libraries? Well, I went to those and got so wide-eyed, and I was just like, I need all the money so I can buy all the books. And they would show the little previews for the books and explain some of the synopses, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I need this book. These are beautiful. I need that one and that one. This one has a pretty cover. This one has a pretty boy on the cover. This one has a crown. I need all the books. Incidentally, I couldn't get all the books, but one of the books that I got from the Scholastic Fair happened to be Peter and the Starcatchers by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson, and this is indeed the original copy that I got at that book fair that day. And let me tell you, it took me 2 years to finally get around to reading this, but I read this book in 5th grade for summer reading. It wasn't required summer reading, they just told us we had to read a book over 100 pages, and I was like, psh, most of my class be reading these Magic Treehouse books in 5th grade. Not me. I'ma read this, wait for it, 451 page book for my summer reading because I am a boss. So if you want to read this book, but you want to see it in a different format because it's not a movie, which makes me sad, go see the Broadway play. I mean, I'm sure it's touring. Go find Peter and the Starcatchers at a playhouse or whatever near you. Get your local community theater to do it. I don't care. See it. It's amazing. This book, also amazing. So if you can't see it in a play, read the book. Read the book multiple times. It's incredible. The book that really got me started on high fantasy novels, as in they take place in other worlds separate from our own, and have the magic and the dragons and the wizards and the everything. This is The Two Princesses of Bamarre. I to this day cannot pronounce this title. This book is by Gail Carson Levine, and she's the author of Ella Enchanted, and I'm sure you've all heard of that book. Got turned into that movie with Anne Hathaway, and they sang the cover of that Queen song. Can anybody find me? You know that one? Completely different storyline from Ella Enchanted, but this is one of the greatest books I've ever read in my whole life. But if you want to read a really good book in a short amount of time with really good characters and really good plot, kid, no kid, I don't care. Read it. For you, I'm sad I don't have a copy of the Animorphs books because I was addicted to those. Those books were my thing. You know, the ones where like the kids and met this like alien, and they got these powers, and they could morph into any animal they want, any animal they've touched, and in the corner of the books you could like flip them, and it would show you like a kid transforming into an animal. Like the first one I read, it was this girl, and she was changing into a butterfly, and it was so cool. Oh my gosh. So I used to have one copy of that series because I usually got them from the library, but I got one copy of that series, and it was the last book in the series. But I freaking lost it at some point in the past, like, 8 years, because those books were my thing. Those kind of introduced me to the, like, alien, sci-fi genre, and I loved them. Where's Harry Potter? And obviously this wouldn't be a video about my favorite childhood books if I didn't mention the age-old tale of Harry Potter. I mean, come on. I read them in 5th grade, and they changed my life. I just got done watching one of ABC Family's Harry Potter marathons. This is my life now. Seriously, though. Seriously. If you haven't read this, if your kid hasn't read this, if your niece, nephew, grandchild, like future child that's sitting in your belly right now has not read this, you need to get them to read it. You need to read this. You need to read it again. Just J.K. Rowling is my queen. I may be queen of this channel, but she is queen of everything. Alright, so that was my favorite childhood books video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that even though those are little kid books, some of them, I hope that you pick up a few and give them a try, or give them to a kid in your life that you want to see blossom into the beautiful young reader they could be. Let your child read. It could change their life. Bye!